In the movie Ruin Me, a group of thrill seekers partake in the ultimate survival horror experience known as Slasher Sleepout. Part camping trip, part sleepout, part escape room, this weekend trip is for those not satisfied with your run-of-the-mill haunted house. Over the course of the 36-hour sleepout, a series of horrific events lead the participants to question whether the experience is really fake or if there's something more sinister at play. If you were a member of this thrill-seeking group, would you have the skills to escape traps, mental fortitude to think calmly under stress, and knowledge to identify what is fake and what is real? You do? Think you're built differently? Well, you're wrong, but after watching this, you just may have a chance. In this video from Strange Thoughts, I'll explain how to beat Slasher Sleepout. I know what some of you are thinking. What happened to this guy's pessimism? Well, don't you worry. I'll be back to the why you wouldn't survive genre soon. I just needed a break from all the negativity. I figured I'd throw a bone to all you summary-consuming, anime-loving, horror game-solving bozos who think some random dude behind a computer can increase your chances of survival. With that out of the way, buckle your seatbelts because I'm coming in hot with some subpar survival tips that just may not save your life. The film starts as Alex, a recovering heroin addict, and her boyfriend/psychologist Nathan make their way to Slasher Sleepout. While Alex isn't a horror junkie, she accepted Nathan's invite after his friend got sick and dropped out. As the couple make their way to the meeting point, they pass all the usual signs they are in the middle of nowhere. They drive by old industrial complexes, abandoned buildings, and creepy old churches, finally arriving at a broken down gas station. There they meet Pitch and Marina, two of the other participants. The couple reveal they've been on many of these horror experiences and are already looking for clues. We don't get much of a background on the other two participants, Larry and Jared, before the Slasher Sleepout host arrives. He hands out contracts and sums up what they can expect from this weekend.
For the next 36 hours, you'll be ruined.
Will be what?
Ruined. Your experience may include sensory deprivation, heights, rough handling, deep water, sexual depravity, and other extreme situations.
He adds that while the actors can touch you, you can't touch them. Additionally, you can't bring anything with you and you're required to give them your cell phone. Geez, I can't think of a more relaxing weekend. Where do I sign? Before we get any further, we need to discuss the real-life horror experience this movie's based on, McCamey Manor. This will set the context for just how extreme these experiences can be and why we'll need more than a positive attitude to beat this thing. McCamey Manor bills itself as a survivor horror challenge. Based in Summertown, Tennessee, it is known as the most extreme haunted experience in the country. In 30 years of operation, no one, I repeat, no one has completed it. Run by a Navy veteran who combines interrogation techniques with hypnosis, the experience can take up to 10 hours and spans 2 states. If you're interested in participating, you must pass a physical exam, psychiatric evaluation, drug test, and background check. You must then sign a 45-page waiver that, like Slasher Sleepout, states that they can touch you, but you cannot touch them. While no one has died at McCamey Manor, a petition with 170,000 signatures claims numerous instances of physical harm and psychological damage that have led some to seek professional help. Further claims of employees with violent backgrounds taking it too far have created an air of mystique irresistible to thousands of adrenaline seekers on the Manor's waiting list. Oh, and the cost for such an immersive experience? Nothing. Outside of a couple bags of food for his dogs, there is no entrance fee. That should be the biggest warning sign. Now that we know how real and extreme an experience like Slasher Sleepout can be, how do we beat it? Additionally, how can we differentiate between a skilled actor giving us a good scare and a psychopathic killer who got his job at Slasher Sleepout to fulfill some sick murder fantasy? Well, I don't have all the answers, but after some intense Googling, I think I may be able to save a few of you. Winning Slasher Sleepout, McCamey Manor, or any other survival horror challenge starts with preparation. Let's assume you booked your experience a month in advance, giving you a reasonable amount of time to prepare. You have 2 options at this point. For the truly committed, you should quit your job, call up David Goggins, and ask for his help in turning you into the biggest badass possible given 1 month's time.
Stay hard!
However, for those of you who can't leave your 9 to 5, here's what you should do. Priority 1 is getting comfortable with challenges you'll likely encounter. This starts with research. Look through all marketing material, watch all available videos, and contact former contestants to get a list of all the challenges you may encounter. For instance, you may learn you have to eat cockroaches or experience simulated drowning. Take this list and build out a training regimen that actually puts you through these challenges. You'll want the simulated experience to be as real as possible. Even better, put yourself through these challenges when you're tired, hungry, and possibly sick. Priority 2 is hardening your mind. A combination of repeated, intense meditation and visualization exercises can help in this respect. You may even want to employ a hypnotist to plan a subconscious necessity to win, like your family's lives being at stake. Priority 3 is hardening the body. Get used to being in physically compromising situations by rolling at jiu-jitsu classes or sparring at a boxing gym multiple times a week. Get familiar with being choked out and having a skilled boxer land a good body shot. The goal is not to learn self-defense. It is to acclimate to violence being applied to your body. Once you've completed all the above, it is time to work on your own psychological warfare tactics. It's not enough to go into this with a defensive mindset. You need to view yourself as a wolf in sheep's clothing. The actors who will be trying to terrify you into quitting are subject to the same mind games they'll be applying to you. Look into tricks you can play to get in their head. You want to make them feel guilty, gross, and uncomfortable with what they're doing. Your goal should not only be to win, but to make one of the actors quit based on their interaction with you. After doing all this, you're either going to be as ready as possible or realize you'd rather just go on a normal camping trip with your dog. As the host finishes gathering signatures, 2 men in ski masks emerge from the back of the van. They bag everyone's heads and tie up their hands and feet. The group is thrown into the back of the vehicle, which heads off to an undisclosed location. Now, if you really want to win this thing, it pays to be observant from the start. You may need to work your way back to the gas station as part of the experience. Your ability to determine where they are taking you depends on the effort they put into your confusion. If they take a half-ass approach like the one in the film, you're going to be able to see the sun, which will indicate direction. You'll also be able to keep track of time and speed based on factors like how often you stop and the sound of a road versus a highway. Together, you'll have the information you need to roughly guess where you're at when they drop you off. However, let's say they do this Sicario style. Complete darkness and music blasting headphones to disorient your other senses. You're not going to be able to determine anything if they go with this option. Instead, you'll have to determine your location once they drop you off. Some ways to do this include looking for road signs, flagging down passing cars, scanning the dumpster for a replacement tag, and if needed, doing a little dumpster diving to find receipts from nearby businesses that may indicate your location. While looking for clues, the group finds backpacks assigned to each person. Each pack contains a unique item the group can use during Slasher Sleepout. Marina catches everyone's attention when she pulls a handgun out of her bag. She hands it to Pitch, who releases the magazine, revealing 2 rounds with the possibility of another in the chamber. The group immediately questions whether the gun and ammo are real. Okay, this isn't too difficult to figure out. You can start by ruling out blanks based on the appearance. Unlike the rounds in Marina's gun, blanks do not have a bullet on the top of the cartridge. Instead, the top of the shell is crimped or covered with a wad of paper, plastic, felt, or cotton. The second possibility is they are snap caps or dummy rounds. Besides obvious visual differences between these and live rounds, you can look for a primer at the bottom of the cartridge. In contrast to live rounds, dummy rounds lack a primer, and snap caps will have some primer substitute like rubber. If I were in this situation, I'd keep this information to myself. I'd convince Pitch to let me take a look, making some excuse about how my dad's a police officer and taught me how to feel the difference. The goal here is to get the gun and possibly live ammo out of Pitch's hands, as that dude looks like he can't be trusted with a slingshot. Personally, once I confirm the ammo is not live, I'd still keep the weapon, but that's up to you. The group sets out on the compass heading, revealed that they're solving their first riddle. As night approaches, they pull out their flashlight, which quickly runs out of battery. Here's the thing, they shouldn't be using a flashlight in the first place. Letting your eyes adjust to the darkness would be a much better strategy. This would even the playing field between you and anyone trying to sneak up on you. Additionally, there are things you can do to further enhance your night vision. First, avoid looking directly at light sources like the full moon above. This will ensure your pupils stay dilated, increasing the amount of light captured by your eyes. Second, blink constantly and dance your eyes around. In addition to preventing your eyes from becoming desensitized, it will make you look like a crazy person, reducing the resolve of anyone looking to approach you. Finally,
use your peripherals.
Peripheral vision is much better than our straight-on vision at night. This is because the photoreceptors that react best to dim light are primarily located in our retina's periphery. Together, these strategies would have allowed the group to see the two approaching men in scary masks. Instead, they're caught off guard and chased through the forest until they arrive at a suspiciously cozy camp. With the masked pursuers having disappeared, everyone quickly drops their guard. They start drinking beer, roasting wieners, and chatting about their favorite horror flicks. I really hope those of you watching this would be smart enough to realize this is no time to relax. If you really want to win this thing, you should immediately douse the fire with beer, evaluate the perimeter, and set traps to alert you to anyone approaching the camp. Start by breaking beer bottles and spreading the glass around the campsite. Then, use rope or fabric from the tent to set up as many tripwires as possible. Together, these would help alert you should someone try to sneak up while you're taking turns sleeping. But I guess no one in this group wants to win, so they proceed to get buzzed, pass out, and wait for fate to deliver their next surprise. As the group is sleeping, a crazy old man sneaks up to their tents without anyone noticing until it's too late. The man slashes at Nathan's arm with a very real knife and then runs away. Okay, so either this Slasher Sleepout actor made a mistake or this experience is way more intense than they all thought. Regardless, Nathan is in it to win it. He slaps on a band-aid and gets as much sleep as he can before the next day. The crew wakes up to find another incredibly hard riddle. This one involves taking 5 random letters and entering them as a code to get their next compass heading.
That's not the only word.
Oh my god, they solved it. We need to get these guys out of Slasher Sleepout and onto the Malaysia Airlines mystery. On their way to the next clue, Pitch is ambushed by the crazy old man from last night who appears to slit his throat and drag him into the forest. Marina runs after him where it sounds like she meets her end. The next domino to fall is Larry, who appears to be shot by a sniper. In 3 minutes, half the group appears to have been murdered. Or were they? Was this all part of the show, or the doing of psychopathic murderers? You want to win this thing, but you also don't want to die. So how do you determine what is fake and what is real in this scenario? Well, starting with Pitch's death, you can easily identify fake blood. Real blood would still be warm and have an unmistakable metallic taste. But classifying it as real blood would not be enough, as it could have used warmed up pig's blood. The question then becomes, can you taste the difference between human and animal blood? To answer this question, I did some searching on Google, added myself to a few lists, and came to find it is really hard to differentiate between the two. Unless you have a chemical test kit, you're not going to be able to determine the blood source. So after a lot of taste testing, we still don't know. With no way to determine the validity of Marina's death, Larry's gunshot wound would be your next opportunity to judge the realness of the situation. After he appeared to be shot, you could have peeked under his shirt looking for something called a squib, which is a non-pyrotechnic device for creating a bullet hit effect. However, a well-run horror survival experience is not going to give you enough time to test this theory. Like Alex and Nathan, you're going to be bagged and taken to the next challenge before you can investigate. Alex wakes up on a beach, surprised to find herself lying next to Tim, a former boyfriend she dated as a heroin addict. He appears to be just as confused as she is as to how he got there. Okay, so things are starting to get real. She still doesn't know if the other participants' deaths were fake, and she's staring at a man only her boyfriend Nathan knows about. Is this still a game? Her thinking is cut short as she notices she is tied to Tim by a metal wire trailing out into the lake. Taking a quick look around, Tim notices a key attached to a pole on a sand dune behind them. They decide to investigate, and he swims out into the water to give her some slack. When she gets to the key, she notices it is tied to a wire leading further up the hill. Ignoring this, she tries the key, which gets stuck in the lock. When she yanks the wire attached to the key, she finds it is tied to Nathan, who's in a BDSM restraint at the top of the sand dune. Pulling any further will cause him to fall down the hill onto the spikes below. Her panicked mind presents her with two options: let Tim drown or yank Nathan down the hill onto the spikes so she can get the slack she needs to rescue Tim. She decides to save Tim as she has a thing for bad boys and will probably be looking for another psychologist/boyfriend if she lives through this thing. When she swims out to rescue rescue her former lover, she finds an empty ankle bracelet. Low on air and very confused, she makes her way back to a badly injured Nathan. So that didn't go well, but what could she have done differently to avoid this outcome? I can't fault them for investigating the key. It was really their only option. They couldn't pick the lock with what they had on them or smash it with a rock as there were none nearby. However, before Tim went into the water, they should have first aligned on a system of tugs to signal Tim needing air or Alex indicating he should come back to shore. Once at the key, Alex should have spent a little time investigating the surrounding area for something she could use to break the key off the pole. With a system of communication established, she and Tim could have taken turns looking around without worrying about someone drowning. They would have eventually realized the spike strip isn't firmly attached to the ground and could have used it to break the key off the pole. At some point during this process, Nathan would probably wake up from his drug-induced stupor. He could have then slowly made his way down the steep hill without the threat of the spikes you moved. Nathan would eventually remember the key in his bag, unlocking everyone from the restraints. Then, after a breather, you would have been back in the game. But they didn't have my brilliant mind. And as a result, Nathan gets shish kebabbed and Tim vanishes. After Nathan is wounded, they come to the conclusion they are no longer playing a game. Someone is out to seriously hurt them. Working their way back to the drop-off point, Nathan finds something hanging from a tree. While investigating the object, a hand reaches out from a hole below and begins pulling him in. As Alex struggles to keep Nathan from being pulled away, they notice another masked individual running their way. Nathan yells at her to abandon him as he can't get free and doesn't want her to be captured as well. Alex takes off running, convinced this is no longer a game and she's being hunted by a psycho killer. She eventually makes it to the drop-off point just as a police cruiser pulls up. Alex does her best to explain the situation, but the officer seems skeptical. As he asks her to put her hands on the cruiser's hood, he lets something slip, suggesting he may not be a real policeman. As she continues talking to him, her suspicion grows. While his cruiser and uniform look real, she can't shake the feeling that something feels off. Okay, so in a scenario like this, there are a few ways to determine the officer's legitimacy. If you can't dial 911 to confirm his identity, start by asking for his badge and identification card. While these are easy to fake, hesitation to provide them would be a red flag. However, the best approach would be to ask the officer to call for another squad car as you keep your distance. This is entirely within your rights, and while annoyed, a legit police officer would do this. In this case, the officer would have been revealed as an imposter, and you would have been able to take off running like Alex. Alex works her way back into the woods, eventually arriving at a building where she bangs on the door screaming for help. The door opens to reveal a dimly lit bar. After walking in, the door slams shut behind her. Starting with Pitch, the other participants she thought had died start approaching her in a zombie-like fashion. More than 24 hours in, sleep-deprived, dehydrated, and hungry, she thinks she's about to be the sacrifice for some cult. Just as she's on the brink of being scared to death, the lights turn on and Nathan comes out proclaiming her as the winner of Slasher Sleepout. Everyone smiles and claps while he reassures Alex everything she experienced for the last 36 hours was fake. All the PTSD-inducing psychological trauma was just part of the fun. The wrap-up party kicks off and Alex chats with both fellow participants as well as actors that scared her during the experience. The one question still on her mind is what happened to Tim? He is nowhere to be found. After a few beers, Alex and Nathan leave the party and start on their way home. On their way back, Nathan pulls off the road into the same gas station where they started their super fun weekend. While Nathan is using the restroom, Alex places a call to Tim. She's generally concerned about his whereabouts. That's when she hears a phone ringing in the trunk of their car. Alex opens it up to find an unconscious Tim. As she stands there wondering if the game is restarted, Nathan comes out of the bathroom. His kind and caring personality is flipped upside down as he reveals he is the one who tied up Tim.
You brought him here?
It wasn't too hard to grab Jared from the bar. See, he was high as a fucking kite.
In fact, this entire weekend was orchestrated by an obsessed Nathan. After he discovered she cheated on him with Tim, he set up the weekend to see who she loved more. The test at the beach was explicitly designed to tease this out. When she chose to save Tim, he was crushed but decided to give her one last chance. He puts a knife down next to Tim and tells her to kill her former boyfriend to prove her love. At this point, Alex has two options. Assuming she's not going to kill Tim, she can either try to use the knife against Nathan or or run. I'd recommend running, as it was revealed earlier that while almost everything over the weekend was fake, Nathan really did get injured and would have a hard time chasing her. Running into the road while dialing 911 would be the best option. However, as I've covered in my other videos, the freeze response is very real. It is only after Nathan commits to killing Tim and then choking her to death that she gains a resolve to stab him in the neck with her sobriety necklace, finally bringing an end to the Slasher Sleepout experience. That's where the movie ends and our analysis comes to a close. If you think you'd easily make it through a similar experience, consider signing up for McCamey Manor. I included a link in the description below. Thanks for watching, and remember to think twice before accepting an invite to a Survivor horror challenge from a jealous boyfriend or girlfriend. You just may. Wait for it. Wait a little longer. Here it comes. Get ruined. God, that was bad.